Taking a blast from the past, Alexander McRobbie in 21st place with Air Ochaco1. This is a character that started to fall off around the Momo meta taking over. This is a deck that was mad popular early on, set 1. It won the first 1K I believe this game's ever had. I think it was a webcam 1K won by Tam Cardwell. This is a deck that tons of people have put time into, and there's so many different ways you can play this deck. You know, every attack in this deck is going to end up being quality just because you can clear it, send it straight to momentum. So a lot of different avenues for play, but let's take a look at what a 50 card Ochaco1 list looks like in 2023. First off, we have 3 copies of Ready, Get, Set, Go, so possibly on the second side of the bracket. No seizing anywhere to be found, so a lot of players foregoing the seizing. Again, I'd like to assume that everyone at the World Championship at least had access to these cards and they were strictly choosing not to play them, but our 5 diffs are huge haymakers. Gravity Lift is such a staple for this deck. I mean, it's basically Ochaco's response for a second time, right? It is a second, third, fourth, fifth potential use of this once per turn. It is super strong. You know, we talk about the sound waves trains. You can get on a Gravity Lift train. You can ride the Gravity Lift train all the way to victory. So very strong card. And then the other 5 diff is, of course, Indiscriminate. Of course, this card is here. One of the best attacks to put +3 speed on in the game. A great attack to start off with and recur for a second time. I mean, this deck is so punishing when you don't have multiple low blocks and it can start throwing multiple indiscriminates at you. Double Jab Pummel is, of course, our extender, but Ochaco doesn't need super extension because of that card pool clearing and that recursion. She doesn't need to dig super deep. And this is a card you're not going to use your abilities on too often. I do think there is some really cool stuff you can do where you don't respond on the first attack and then you play a double jab and it goes to momentum, and then a second attack on a that would be on a 5 like can't fail. But I don't think that was super necessary for this deck. Otherwise, you're typically seeing this as a 4 of all the time. Meteor Shower is so good with that once per turn response. It's so very good with Gravity Lift. Yeah, this is a late game powerhouse. It gives you a lot of late game extension. Just really cool card. And you have Home Run Comment, which is a great way to zonk people. Great finisher. You know, Ochaco's not the best at having these super long strings, and it can be tough to sequence to where this gets +3 speed. So not surprised to see this at a 2 of. And then Electric Jolt, this is just a super staple. Only 2 of here, so maybe we're just going to get like tons of value off of the 1 or 2 copies that we get because it can go straight to momentum. But I definitely need more Jolt in my life personally to deal with a lot of the powerful interactions. Your opponent's usually only going to have 1 or 2, so you know, just consistently seeing that Jolt more often seems like it'd be pretty important, but there is a lot of ways to touch your opponent's stage right now. And then we have 2 Taiyaki Fanatic. Canceling Clutch enhances on assets and foundations, also giving us a little bit of a deadlock threat. Wealthy Aspirations is a 2 of here because we get to use it very well. We get to pretty much turn it on immediately as soon as we start attacking, and we have some pretty good things to unflip with Electric Jolt. So big fan of this card here, and it's a +1 low block, and we needed a couple more lows. That makes sense. Specialist of Sound, the classic -3 speed response staple, 4 of. Latent Skill was a 3 of. Short Circuit, this is a card we don't see too often. Return this non-charge attack to its printed damage, so that's pretty cool, except a lot of the best attacks are charges. So this ends up on the cutting room floor for me a whole lot. But I also haven't played these symbols in a long time, so pretty interesting. I guess that's a lie. I played Chaos and Nats. Anyways, this card is very interesting, but it doesn't reduce the damage on Indiscriminate, so or anything in a Jiro deck. So this one is a little sus in this format, I think. Observant Student as a 3x +1 low block makes a lot of sense. Again, gives you more deadlock threats. which this is one of the best ones. So makes a lot of sense here. 4 of Destined for Mainstream, that's the right number. 2x Basic Training, that's the wrong number. 3x Release and 4x Requesting makes so much sense here. So I think we could lose a release or two, grab some Basic Training, even if we were going second, you know, which Alexander McRobbie probably had the absolute worst matchup round 1 I can think of. No matter how good this deck is, the way that Ochaco works is just so rough into Recovery Girl. Having to go second in that matchup sounds like an absolute nightmare. I don't know how I would ever try to overcome that deck unless I actually just, you know, waited until I had 6 attacks. But by that time, you're getting thrown to death. So game 1, we don't even have wall clings, and we only get 2 coming out of the side. I guess you can use Confused, right? Like, if it's not their first enhance, you know, if Recovery Girl does something before giving something throw, you can Confuse it, and then it can't gain keywords. But yeah, you're going to have to rely on your Deadlock to most likely get you through that matchup. But Recovery Girl is so good at getting out of Deadlock, so I don't really know. Either way, it felt like a very, very, very tough matchup. I was a little surprised it took so long because of how one-sided I think that matchup is. But that's probably just a testament to Alexander's ability to play defense and not, you know, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. So not a ton of surprises here. I think a Sound Waves would go a long way. I think Ochaco is one of the best users of Sound Waves. Specialized Sound Waves with Wealthy Aspirations is really, really big because you still get the attack to recur, but you get the bonus momentum to spend on Specialized Sound Waves. So that's something I was kind of expecting to see. Boards Festival Stadium is really interesting, but I guess this character is weak to Faith Shield, and you had to be prepared for people to at least be citing it, so that's pretty cool. And then Cheerleader. Cheerleader should be mainboarded. I think Cheerleader's got to be mainboarded in this format. It's definitely a better defensive card going first, but it's also really strong on offense when you're just trying to close something out with a throw. So yeah, very, very much, you know, Ochaco's cards in her deck, right? Ochaco Charges is something we're pretty familiar with, and I gotta think that running into Recovery Girl was our kryptonite. So hope to see them again at the next Hero League Championship. So congratulations, Alexander.